My name is Rachael Kent. I finished the MA Creative Media in October and graduated in February. I finished my BA in Brighton in Communications and Media Studies. That was in 2010. And when I finished, I really felt that I was just starting to scratch the surface of a lot of my research interests. And the MA offered such a scope of areas that I was already interested in. And that's what actually led me to come and do the course here. What drew me to come to Brighton to do my undergraduate degree, I think, was firstly the city. It's kind of small enough that it's a nice place to come when you're moving away from home for the first time. You're close to London. It's a nice creative place. And the actual university itself was that the course that I was interested in was the one that was most appropriate to my kind of interests. And I knew that media at Brighton was fantastic. And so it just came together, I guess, with the place and the course. Having had most of the same tutors on the MA that I had at undergrad as well, I had such a positive experience with all of them. And they had helped foster all of my research interests. I really felt like I wanted to specialise in all of these areas that the MA covered, but also with the same tutors that I'd had before, because I felt that I had a really, really good kind of working professional relationship. There's a lot of production work in terms of filmmaking and photography that you can do. I went more down the theoretical route because my research interests, that's where it led me. But you can be very creative with it as well. You've kind of got both of the options with whichever avenue of research you want to go down, really. So I applied for the MA before I left the UK. I then went abroad for a couple of years. And while I was living in Melbourne for a year, I decided that I was quite missing my research and my studies. So I contacted the university and said, could I start earlier? I already had a start date pre-planned. And they were wonderful and very flexible and said, yes, I could do one module via distance learning while I was abroad. And I was quite sceptical of distance learning methods before doing this. I didn't think that I'd necessarily get as much out of it as being in the classroom. But I was so impressed by the support that I got, considering I was on the other side of the world. I was on a different time zone. I didn't ever feel like I wasn't part of the community. We had really good feedback from all the tutors. And it really meant that when I came back into the second year, I was able to go full-time and hit the ground running. Having obviously worked with other people that have done MAs and now friends of mine that are applying, there's not that many that are actually offered distance learning or then the ability to go part-time or full-time. The good thing about this one is it's so flexible, and whatever your background is or whatever you're trying to do, whether you want to do it alongside work or family or just want to take it slower because it's quite a heavy workload, you've got the option to do that. I think the thing I took away from the MA in terms of the teaching approach was that each of the modules that I did, it felt like a lot of the tutors were specialists in the field. You knew that the teaching methods and their research expertise was really coming through in the way that they were delivering the course. For example, a lot of the literature that we were reading was publications from the actual tutors that we were learning from. I think for anybody that is coming out of an undergraduate course now, and with the job market being how it is, I think that it really enables you to focus in on your research interests and areas, and not necessarily research, but just an interest within the industry. In terms of the jobs that you could go into from doing the MA, I think any kind of media and creative industries work. Obviously for me, my interest is academia, so that's what I've focused on. So I chose a module called Digital Cities, which I chose because I was quite out of my comfort zone. I was interested in it, but it wasn't necessarily something that I'd had much of a background on. That actually became the foundation for my MA work, which then gave me the idea for the PhD research project. My PhD is at King's College. It's part of a European Research Council funded project, which is called Ego Media. And that looks at new media forms and how it impacts on self-presentation online. My actual specific project is looking at the effects of digital health technologies and how that impacts on self-presentation online and offline practices. The thing that was most beneficial and I was so appreciative of was when I actually applied for the PhD position. I was able to get actual application help and interview help with two of the staff members on the course. After my PhD, I'd like to stay in academia. I'd like to carry on with my research and start teaching as well. Academia appeals to me, I think, because I want to educate people. I want to be at the forefront of research, and I want to be in an environment which is passionate and inspiring. And academia, to me, seems like the most rewarding environment to be in.